Okay, we're going to turn a photo into what looks like an avatar picture, and you can see that I have this one that we're going to reference today. And so what I'm going to do is use this picture of myself, and you can use a picture of yourself if you have one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out just myself, and since I'm on a blank white background, I can use my magic wand tool. And I'm going to set the tolerance to about 90, just to be sure that I get all the coloring in here. So I'm going to click here. You can see that I don't have this side, so I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard, and I can add to the selection and get this part as well. Now I'm going to select the inverse, and now I'm only selecting on myself, and I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And so now I've got layer 1, which is my new layer with no background. If I turn the eyeball off of my background, you can see that this is just a transparent background. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer, and I'm going to double click this and name it black, because we're going to paint it black. And I'm going to move this layer below layer 1. Now I'm going to use my foreground color and set it to black, use my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to paint my background black. Now you can see that this little white halo around myself, because when we cut my picture out with the magic wand tool, it left this little edge here, and so we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to go to layer 1, I'd like to make a layer mask, and I'm going to grab my paintbrush tool, make sure it's a soft or blurred kind of brush like this, and we're going to turn the opacity up to 100% or close to it. And I'm just going to come up here to the edge of my hair, and I'm going to paint just to kind of get rid of that white edge. I'm actually going to erase my ears completely, because we're going to be adding different ears onto ourselves, so we might as well just get rid of them now. Just going to get rid of this, all this white edge on the edge of my clothing on my face. Get rid of that other right ear. And I'm going to change my brush to a little smaller brush here to get this part up here. And give myself a little haircut while I'm at it. Alright, so now I've just got my head. The next thing I'm going to do is make another new layer. And this layer I'm going to name Color, because we're going to add some color to make our skin tone more this blue color. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my foreground color and just bring your eyedropper into this picture, and I can pick up, if you notice, my new color right here changes to a blue color. And I'm just going to come in here until I find a nice blue that I want to work with. And this one looks pretty good. Maybe use some shade of that. Alright, let's click OK. Alright, I'm going to use my brush tool. I'm just going to turn the opacity up to 100. And I'm going to use a big brush. That's good. I'm just going to paint the skin area of my face and neck. Make sure that you get it all. Alright. Now my blending modes, instead of normal, I'm going to choose color, and now it's going to blend in with my face. And I'm going to change the opacity to about 60%. Alright. Now we're going to get rid of the edges here where it's going too far, but this looks kind of light to me. It's because my face, my original face here, is pretty bright. And so I'm going to come down to my original face here, and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. And once I have curves open, if I move the curve here to the left, then it brightens my face, and if I move it to the right, then it darkens my face. And I want to move it down so that I got a nice dark complexion for my blue here. something right around there. You can also go and adjust the levels if you want, and we can bring in the shadows, lighter and darker. We want something where we can see some contrast, darks and lights right here. Let's click OK. And with my color, I'm just going to turn this up a little bit so that it's just a little bit more blue. 67% is looking pretty good. Alright, now we're going to add a layer mask to our color. So grab layer mask, and with a black brush I'm going to come up and I'm just going to get rid of this blue that's going outside of the areas that I want it to be. But we want this to go into the hairline. We don't want to see my original skin color. Alright, that's pretty good. And I'm also going to zoom in and use a smaller brush. Something about the, maybe even a little smaller than that. There we go. Because I want to bring my eyes back in, the eye color. So we're going to use black brush on the eyes and bring that coloring back in. Now, if you look at these eyes, they're very yellow. All the Na'vi and Avatar have like these really bright yellow eyes, and so mine are very dark right now. And so what I'm going to do is use my lasso tool, and I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to roughly draw right around my eyes. Just get as close to them as you can. And hold shift on your keyboard and we can get this eye at the same time. We can add to our selection. Alright, so now I got both my eyes. I'm going to go to Image Adjustments. Oh, hold up. We need to be on the right layer, so make sure you're on layer 1, the picture, not the layer mask. And I'm going to go to Image Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Color Balance. And let's turn the yellow up on these eyes. Alright, click OK. I'm also going to use my Dodge tool. Exposure 15, that's fine. I'm just going to come around here and kind of lighten those up a little bit so that they're even more vibrant than they used to be. There. Go up to Select, Deselect, and now we've got our colored eyes that we need. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is turn the eyeball off of my black layer so that I just see the remainder of my head here. And I'm going to go to this little button here and we're going to merge the visible. So once again, I clicked on this little button here at the top right corner of my layers, merge visible, turn the black back on, and we've got these blues that are showing up here again. So let's make another layer mask. Use our brush tool, a larger brush size, and we're going to come in here with black. Get rid of this blue again. Whoops, went a little too far there. Bring my shirt back. Alright. Excellent. Next thing I'm going to do is use my lasso tool again, and I'm going to draw around my eyes. And I'm going to hold shift and draw around my other eye. Okay, so now I got both my eyes. I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to increase the size of these eyes. Oops. Got to make sure that I'm on my layer mask. Hit Escape. I'm going to click on my image here. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. Now we got a copy of just the eyes. So here's just the eyes. I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, hold Shift, and I'm going to increase the size of my eyes. Okay. Now I got these bigger eyes. Na'vi have bigger eyes, so I'm making these a little bigger. I'm actually going to squeeze this in slightly. they've got kind of more rounded eyes. So I'm just kind of adjusting the size as I go. There we go, hit enter. And I'm going to use my lasso tool to cut around one of these. Just draw it around the entire eye. And then I'm going to go to edit, cut, edit, paste. So now I've got an eye on one layer and an eye on another layer. So this eye right here is my left eye and this eye is my right. Layer 3 is my left, so I'm going to name it left eye. Layer 2 is right eye. Alright, so I'm going to move my eye over the top of my old eye here, and my left eye over the top of my other old eye. In kind of the same place. I'm going to use my arrow keys on the keyboard just to kind of nudge that down into place. That looks pretty good. Alright, so let's go ahead and use a layer mask again on this one and on this one. And I'm going to use my brush, 100%. I'm going to get rid of the excess that we have on here all the way up until it meets the side of the head. Alright, go to your left eye layer mask, do the same thing. Get rid of all the excess so that just the eye and the eyebrow are left. Alright. Here's the time when you want to adjust. If you want to adjust anything, use your move tool. You can nudge this up and down. Make sure that they're pretty level. Looks pretty level right there. And they're a pretty good distance apart. So that's good. Alright. We're going to make or merge these two eye layers together so that they're one eye. So I'm going to turn my eyeballs off of these so that just the eyes are there, and I'm going to hit this button again and we're going to merge visible. So now they're both under left eye, but we know that they're both the eyes. We want to do this because we're going to increase the size of both of these overall widths of the the retinas and the irises. So I'm going to come in here to filter, liquify. And with liquify, you can have these different tools. Yours will probably be on this tool right here, which is the forward warp tool. But we're going to bloat, meaning we're going to make it basically expand from a center point. And I'm going to come over here to my eye. Brush size, brush density, brush pressure. These are all good numbers to use. So just make yours about this. We want the brush size to be around 200. I'm going to come in here to my eye, and I'm just going to click. And I'm going to kind of bloat my eye out a little bit, clicking around the retina. Okay, this is the thing that you want to spend a little bit of time on, and if your eyes don't really look the way that you want them to, you can go ahead and go to restore all and it'll go back to its original state. And so it's actually a good idea to come down here and zoom in to your eyes. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bloat the irises here. Trying to keep that pupil right where it's supposed to be, right there at the top. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And this one's looking a little bigger than the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and bloat this out a little bit more. And I'm just kind of clicking around, bloating it as I go around. Okay, looks pretty good here. Let's click OK and see if it looks good in here. And how does that compare? That's pretty good. You can spend more time on this to make it look better. This is satisfactory to me at this moment, so this is fine. We're going to go ahead and open up our let's see. I'm going to open up my ears. So here's one of the ears that we can use. I'm going to grab my lasso tool and lasso around this. And I'm going to move that onto my other picture. And it's white around there, so I'm going to go ahead and hit my magic wand tool, click the white area, delete it. Now I've got my ear, and I'm going to name this right ear. Oops. And with my move tool, I'm going to move this into place, maybe right here. And I want to move the ear behind my head so that the layer is behind the head. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Free Transform, and if I right click on this free transform, you can see that you can rotate this in different ways. If we flip this horizontal, then it goes the other direction. Okay? So we get a perfect difference. So what I'm going to do is copy this layer, and I'm going to name this one left ear. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to rotate it or flip it horizontal. Hit Enter. And now I'm going to move this ear around the other side of my head to the place that it needs to go. Alright, looks pretty good. Okay. We're going to liquefy our nose now. So let's go ahead and use our rectangle marquee tool, and I'm going to select the nose and the surrounding areas of the nose. So we want a box that's pretty get a good generous amount of space on both sides of the nose. Okay, and why don't we go ahead and make a copy of this and then paste it. So now I got a nose right here. Right behind my eyes, and we're going to edit this with our filters. We're going to liquefy the nose. So there's our nose. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that thing. And we want our nose to look more like the Na'vi, so I'm going to use my forward warp tool, and I'm going to decrease the brush size a little bit, maybe to about 100. Yep, that's good. And I'm going to grab kind of where these arches are that separate the nose, and I'm going to pull out. I'm going to actually move my brush size up a little bit, 145, that's good. And I'm going to move my nose this direction until I get kind of a triangular shaped nose. This step takes a little bit of time because you need to make sure that it looks good. I'm going to move the other side, pull that out, and you want it to be thinner here, although wide, and then you want it to thicken out as you go down. And we want to kind of create one long path here. We don't want it to bow out in and out too much. We want it to just go straight down in one long path line. I'm going to move this part down as well. They kind of go down like that on the Na'vi. This part again takes a lot of time, so make sure that you spend a lot of good time making sure that this step looks nice and complete. I'm going to click OK. So now I've got a nose that looks more like a Na'vi nose, and I can actually widen that a little bit more right here at the brim, but I'd like you to do that step. I'm not going to go back and do that because this video is going to be too long with that step. So once you got your nose like this, go ahead and we're going to choose a different color here. So I'm going to switch over, and I'm actually going to eyedrop my ear here and get kind of get this color of the ear in here, like this kind of brown. And with my paintbrush, I'm going to come right up to my nose. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush, zoom into the nose, and I'm going to use my brush. Let's decrease it a little bit more. That's good. To kind of paint just the tip of my nose here. Because as you look, these Na'vi have kind of a colored nose at the bottom here. And we can actually use that to, oh, that's not very good, to color in our nose here. And you can actually even use this blur tool on the nose as well. If we increase our brush size, we can use this to kind of smooth out the brush strokes that we had there. Okay, just 2 more steps to go. The next step we're going to do, this is another very difficult step. I mean, it's a little time consuming. I'm going to go back to my face layer, and we're going to use what's called the burn tool, which is located below the dodge tool. And I'm going to have the exposure set to about 12-13% or so. With this kind of a brush, this is fine. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And we have these dark, like, kind of lines that go down on his head, down to his eyes, and they come in on his cheeks and everything. And that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to kind of bring my brush down, maybe even bring this up to about 20% or so. And you can see that wherever I brush, it gets kind of dark. And we want to build up layers of darkness and go down to the eyebrow here. And I'm going to kind of combine them together a little bit here and bring in another stripe here. And what I'm doing is just kind of drawing 2 shapes here and then coloring in the middle of it. And we're just darkening the skin tone here, making those kind of tribal lines that these guys have. So this step also takes a while. Make sure that you come in here and do a good job of spending time making this look. Go ahead and reference your picture here. See these lines that come down on his face here and on her face. His are a little different than hers. I'm kind of following the way that his looks, not hers. And we want to kind of make some stripes come down here. You don't want to set the exposure too high. About 20% is good, because if you set it too high, it'll darken too fast, and you don't want to do that. So we're darkening. And again, you want to spend more time on this. You want to spend a good deal of time on this. Go back and forth, look at the pictures, make sure that you're doing it the way that it looks in the picture. I mean, you're not going to get it perfect the exact same way that it looks in the picture, but you are going to be able to get it to look like their skin tone changed. Again, if you don't like anything, you can go back to your history, go back to burn tool, come back to there. We can start again on this side if we need to. It also might be a good idea to make a copy of this layer before you start burning it, because if you burn it too far and you can't go back in time, it's a good idea to make a copy. Let's do the neck area as well. Make sure that you get every part, copy the style. Alright, let's zoom out. That's looking pretty good. Obviously spend more time making these shapes the way that they're supposed to. I went a little too dark on some of them, so you might want to lighten up on those. We can also use the dodge tool, and the dodge will actually lighten things. So if I come back down here, increase my brush size, I can come in here and I can actually lighten these back up, bring it back to its original state if I wanted to. So the last step, very last step that we want to do is with our brush tool and set to a white brush. So I'm going to use a white brush, and I'm going to use a very, very small brush, maybe like a 8. And I'm going to come in here, and if you look at the Navi, they have these little specks on their faces, on their nose and under their eyes. So let's set this thing to normal before we start painting. And I'm actually going to set this on a new layer. So I'm going to name this layer dots. These are going to be the white colored dots, and I'm going to come up here and just start clicking patterns. So we got that under his eye. We got some straight ones that come down on his nose. So I'm going to come over here to the nose. Well, let's put dots above everything. There we go. So you don't want to go too crazy, but you know, there's speckles of dots around his face. And keep referencing, you got straight lines coming down here. So I'm going to do a few straight lines coming down kind of in a V. And once you've put down enough dots, and I wouldn't say that I have, I would go around and make sure you got some under his nose as well that we want to put in. Think about this slightly before you just start throwing dots down. Okay, you can make your brush size a little bit bigger, maybe a 12. And you can come in here, and I'm just going to like paint over some of these dots. That's just going to kind of break up the monotony, make some of them look a little bit bigger than others. So here's your avatar. This one looks decent. I mean, it's not awesome. I could spend a lot more time on this, and I expect that you will. Make sure that it looks very nice. Make sure you spend a lot of time on the dots, on the color burn, on the eye shapes. My shapes are slightly off on my eyes, so just make sure that you bloat them correctly. I just wanted to show you how to do it, not necessarily showing you a perfect finished product, but this is your basic avatar. Make sure that you spend more time and make it very, very nice looking. And there you go.